ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शंकर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्. Now in the last session we saw that Bhagwan Shankaracharya in Vivekachudamani says that no amount of karma and upasana are ultimately going to give me the freedom from bondage which I am looking for. My actual goal in this life is to find freedom from this bondage which I am suffering. This is called as mumuksha or moktumicha. And this freedom from bondage, which is called as moksha by our shastras, the shastras say, and so also Bhagwan Shankaracharya in his Vivekachudamani reiterates that no amount of secular actions like Laukika karmas, no amount of any kind of Vaidika karmas or religious activities are going to directly lead to moksha. Upasanas also are not going to directly lead to moksha. Does it mean that all the karmas that we do, the Ishta karmas, the worship, the yagas, the yajnas, the purta karmas that we do, all the worships and upasanas that we do, does it mean that all these things are useless? No, it doesn't mean that. All our karmas and all our upasanas are useful in the sense that they are secondary sadhanas. They are not the primary sadhanas. They are the preparations for the mind to really be prepared for this dhyanam. Therefore, karma acts as that which clears the mind of all the malas, and karma gives rise to chitta shuddhi and jnana yogyata. Similarly, upasana also does the same thing. It gives me the capacity to focus. Chitta naishchalyam it gives me. Chitta vishalata it gives me. So karma and upasana are going to give me this chitta naishchalyam and chitta vishalata and chitta shuddhi, which makes this mind favorable to attain this knowledge. So basically, karma and upasana are sadhanas for chitta shuddhi and chitta naishchalyam. That also done with a proper attitude. Mere karma done for the sake of achieving certain material benefits is not going to really help me in preparing myself for this knowledge. Whenever any karma is done, nishkama karma is done, and with an attitude of offering it to the Lord in the form of karma yoga. Karma yoga gives me chitta shuddhi. Karma yogena chitta shuddhi, upasana yogena chitta naishchalyam. Surrendering to the Lord, surrendering to Ishvara, either with Ekarupa Ishvara Bhakti or Vishwarupa Ishvara Bhakti, and then going in for understanding what the tattva of the Jiva Jagat Ishvara is. So here, what Vivek Chudamani also makes it very clear in the initial verses itself is karma has a role, upasana has a role. We should not give up the karmas in the form of worship and pujas and whatever yajnas, nitya karmas, naimitika karmas, panchamahayajnas. We should not give them up. They are useful in giving us the jnana yogyata prapti. At the same time, surrendering to the Lord and then surrendering to Ishvara and upasana, worship of Ishvara, is helpful again in giving me another dimension to this mind to make it very, very appropriately prepared for this knowledge. And ultimately, what gives me this knowledge? Here, Vivek Chudamani said in the last session, we saw vichara. What vichara? Shastra vichara. Shastra vichara or enquiry into the Shastra. Guru Mukhena Shastra Adhyayanam. Guru Mukhena Shastra Shravanam. That is using or going to a Guru and getting this knowledge by doing vichara, Shastra vichara. And when I do the Shastra vichara, I get this knowledge of Brahman or Atma. So, what is the Shastra full of? Shastra gives me what? This Atma Vidya. I can call it Atma Vidya, I can call it Brahma Vidya, I can call it Atma Jnanam. All these mean what is my real nature? Who am I as a Jiva? What is the Swarupam of this Jagat? What is the Swarupam of Ishvara? And are the Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara different from each other, or are they connected in any way? If they are connected in any way, in what way they are connected with each other? What is that common string, or what is that common string of consciousness called as Atma or Brahman, which is a common thread in all these three? This is going to be known by Vichara, which is called as Shastra Vichara. And Bhagwan Shankaracharya said here in the 14th verse, which we saw last time, he said, Adhikarinam ashaste phalasiddhir visheshataha upaya deshakaladhyaha santi asmin sahakarinaha. So he said here that to get this knowledge also, to be exposed to this knowledge also, to do the Brahma Vichara also, this mind has to be prepared. I should be an adhikari. Like I mentioned an example, if a person has to study PhD, he has to do PhD, he has to be an adhikari for a PhD. A 10th standard child cannot be an adhikari for PhD. Therefore, there should be some common adhikaritvam for a person to expose himself or herself to this Shastra Vichara also. And though here we are not studying those one or two verses, Vivek Chudamani, it tells us that certain amount of basic preparation of the mind are very necessary. What are they? Initially he said, Upaya Desha Kaladhyaha. A proper environment is necessary for this knowledge, this vichara to be done. A proper time is necessary. A proper age is necessary for a person to get into this vichara. And not only that, there are some other general preparations which are necessary for a person to get this jnana yogyata or vichara yogyata. What are these things? See, ultimately, this particular jnanam or this shastra communicates whatever it has to communicate through words. The Shastra Vichara is communicated through the words in a particular language. And naturally, the Guru also uses words and a certain language to communicate what the Shastra is telling. Now, when this happens, at least a basic knowledge of the language is necessary to understand what the words mean, even though this may be in Sanskritam. But then, even though this has been translated, even though this is being talked about in English or Kannada, Hindi, or any other language, the language of communication should be known to the person. So the person should have some kind of an adeptness in the language also to understand what is being talked about, what the words mean, and when the Shastric words are described and explained, what they mean. So some kind of a capacity to understand what the words mean. So language is something which is very important to be known by a person who is interested in Shastra Vichara. Then there should be some kind of a discerning capacity. Whenever something is told, that I have to learn to discriminate and discern and understand what is told, what we call as the Grahana Shakti. There should be some amount of Grahana Shakti also in me. Otherwise, what happens is, whatever is being talked about, I may not be able to really be with what is talked about. So, some amount of capacity to absorb, capacity to understand, the basic level of intelligence, a basic intelligence level is necessary for me to absorb what the Shastra is telling, what Guru is telling. And more so, if I study the Shastra independently, it is all the more difficult because the Shastra talks in such cryptic language sometimes that even if I'm a scholar, I may not be able to understand what the Shastra actually means. And therefore, it is necessary for me to study under a guru, because it is the guru who knows how to unlock the words of the Shastra and to give the meaning of the Shastra properly the way it has to be understood. Even for that, I have to have some capacity to understand the basic capacity, the basic understanding of what somebody is saying. The capacity to understand means the Grahana Shakti or discerning capacity. Some amount of analytical capacity also I should have. When certain choices are given, when certain things are talked about, I should have the capacity to analyze as to what is being said here. If it is this, could it be this? Why not this? At this way I should be able to actually analyze also. Some analytical capacity also should be there, which is what is called as uha poha. So the Vivekachudamani itself says in one of the previous verses that this person should be a vidwan. He's an uha poha vichakshanaha. He should be somebody who is very good in, very good, need not be very good, sufficiently good in seeing things as they are, in trying to discern things the way they are told, the capacity to analyze and see into what is told, what is understood properly or not, what are my doubts here, and how have I understood it, am I able to recollect what I have been told. This capacity, medha shakti, the capacity to recollect, the capacity to remember. So these kind of some basic requirements are very necessary for every mumukshu who goes into the shastra vichara. But not only that, after that, the text Vivek Chudamani says, Bhagwan Shankaracharya says, there are four specific sadhanas which are called as sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. Sadhana chatushtaya means what? Fourfold qualifications. Those of us who have gone through the Tattva Bodha in our ebook section, we know what is sadhana chatushtaya. Sadhana chatushtaya means fourfold preparations of the mind to make this mind capable of understanding what the Shastra and Guru are talking about. Now, what are they? That is what is going to be discussed in the next about 10 to 12 verses. Vivek Chudamani goes a long way in discussing this preparedness, the specific preparedness for Shastra Vichara. What kind of preparations of the mind should I have? What are these sadhanas? These are the important secondary sadhanas to make me capable of doing a certain vichara. And what are they? Those are going to be talked about in from the 18th verse onwards. So let's see the 18th verse in the main Vivek Chudamani. 18th verse, it says, Sadhananyatra chatvari कथितानि मनीषिभिः येषु सत्स्वेव सन्निष्ठा यदभावेन सिद्ध्यति. So what is being said here is sadhanani atra. Here, sadhanas are necessary. How many sadhanas are there which are necessary? Specific fourfold sadhanas or fourfold qualifications, he says here. Sadhanani atra chatvari. There are four sadhanas which are specific sadhanas, not the general sadhanas we talked about. Vidwan means a person who has the capacity to understand what is being told. Uha poha vichakshanaha, that means a person who has the capacity to analyze and discern certain things. A person who has the capacity to remember and recollect what has been told. A person who is able to see one thing after the other in an order the way it is talked about. As I am talking about the next chapter, I should remember what was talked about in the previous chapter. I should be able to connect what I studied in the last session with what I am studying now. These are all the general preparations, the general kind of capacity or general intellectual capacity that the person should have. In addition to that, Vivek Chudamani and our Shastras talk about fourfold specific qualifications. So, sadhanani atra chatvari kathitani manishibhihi. Manishibhihi means all the scholars, all the jnanis, all the great people, that is all our rishis, And all our Upanishads, they're talking about what? Sadhanani atra chatvari. Chatvari sadhanani. Fourfold sadhanas are talked about here. Yeshu satsu eva sannishta. Only with these qualifications, it is possible for me to abide in this knowledge. Without these qualifications, it is not possible for me to abide in this knowledge. That is why, even in the Laukika Jnanas, we have the qualifying tests, correct? Even in games and sports, we have the qualifying rounds. So, when a person goes to the final, when a person goes to a particular course, he has to be or she has to be qualified for that. So there are qualification training, they are qualified, they are trained to be qualified, and the qualification is checked. Similarly here also for atmajnana also certain qualifications, fourfold qualifications are necessary. And Bhagwan Shankaracharya says, without these four qualifications, it is not possible to arrive at this knowledge. Shastra Vichara is not possible. What is the meaning of not possible? I can come and sit in a Vedanta class. I can read a Vedanta book, but that is not going to make any sense to me. It will not catch my attention if I am not prepared for it. And I will not be able to make head or tail out of what is being talked about. If I am reading the Shastra, I will not be able to understand what is being talked about in the Shastra. So these four preparations, he says, Yad abhave na siddhyati, sannishta na siddhyati, yad abhave, sadhana chatushtaya sampatti abhave. Without these fourfold qualifications, Shastra Vichara, Brahma Vichara is not possible. And without Brahma Vichara, without Shastra Vichara, without Atma Vichara, abiding in this knowledge, getting this knowledge also is not possible. So it is very necessary to have these fourfold qualifications. Now, what are these fourfold qualifications? Those are going to be enumerated in the 19th verse. The 19th verse talks about what are the four qualifications that are necessary which make a person an adhikari for this knowledge. Such an adhikari is called as a sadhana chatushtaya sampanna adhikari. A person who is a sampanna, the one who is endowed with these four-fold qualifications which make the learning of the Shastra easy, which make understanding of what is Brahman easy, which make the abidance in this knowledge, understanding this knowledge, and digesting this knowledge easy. So what are those fourfold qualifications? That is what is going to be told in the 19th verse. And what does the author Bhagwan Shankaracharya say? आदौ नित्यानित्यवस्तु विवेकः परिगण्यते इहामुत्रफलभोग विरागस्तदनन्तरं शमादिषट्कसम्पत्तिः मुमुक्षुत्वमिति स्फुटम्. In this verse, what is happening? The fourfold qualifications are merely named. The qualifications, the fourfold sadhana chatushtaya is named here. Ado. The first one is called Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. So we will deal with this in detail when we come one after another. It will be dealt in detail. So what is the first one? What is the first of the four? Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. That means what? The discrimination between what is temporary and what is permanent, what is ephemeral, what is constantly slipping away, and what is it that is eternal. What is it that I am holding on to? I am seeing that in the Jagat. When I see around, I see very clearly that everything is so ephemeral and temporary. Everything is constantly slipping away from my hands. I try to hold on to something, but that something doesn't, really last with me for a long time. Either that thing goes away from me or I go away from that thing. Therefore, there must be something which is eternal, something which is permanent. Holding on to it, I will not feel this kind of an insecurity. My insecurity in this Jagat is because of what? Because I'm constantly holding on to things which are ephemeral, which are constantly changing, And then when things are changing, when things slip away from my hands, I'm not able to tolerate it. That gives me that insecurity. So if I'm constantly insecure because I'm holding on to the insecure things, temporary things, there must be something in this world, there must be something which is permanent, which doesn't waste away, which is all the time there, which is eternal, which is constant, which we saw where in Bhagavad Gita also saw. That thing was called by Bhagwan Krishna as Aksharam Brahma, Brahman, or Lord, or Ishvara. It is given various names: Atma, Brahman, Avyayam, Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, Atma. Iti. We saw that in Bhagavad Gita. So, what is it that is a constant? There can be nothing which is only temporary and variable. The world will not exist if everything is only changing. If there is no constant, nothing will remain. Among all the variables, for all the variables to be there, there should be one constant, there should be one eternal stuff with which this whole changing world is made of. And what is that? To understand that and see the difference between that Nityam Brahma and this Anityam Jagat, this is what is called as the Nitya Anitya Vastu Vivekaha. It is also called Vivekaha. Viveka means discrimination. As the name of this text itself goes, Vivekachudamani. So here Viveka means discrimination or discerning or seeing the difference between what is ephemeral and what is eternal, what is temporary, what is permanent. What is it that when I hold on to gives me more insecurity, and what is it that when I hold on to gives me that security, peace, and happiness that I am looking for. So, this discerning capacity is called as Viveka. Viveka means called, it is discrimination, to see the difference between the permanent or the eternal and the temporary. Nitya means that which is permanent, Anitya means that which is temporary. To see the difference, to see that there are things constantly changing and there must be something. This kind of a Viveka is called as Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka. Adau Pariganyate. That is the first thing in this, in the order of the four. This is the first thing. It is said that once I have this Viveka, once I start thinking on these terms, the other three will follow. What is the next one? Iha amutra phala bhoga viragaha tadanantaram. Once I come to know what is the difference between Anityam and Nityam, Nitya Vastu, Brahman, and Anitya Jagat, then what happens? Automatically, a dispassion arises in me towards all the temporary things, a dispassion towards the Anitya Vastus, and holding on or commitment to knowing this permanent Vastu or eternal Vastu or Brahma Vastu, dispassion, detachment. This is called as Vairagya. And what is Vairagya? Explained here as Iha Amutra Phala Bhoga Viragaha. That means the desire to enjoy the pleasures of Artha Kama Purushartha here in this world, in this life, and also in the life after. I lose interest in that. Excuse me. So, normally, what is my purpose here? Whenever, what is my attention more on? Artha Purushartha, Kama Purushartha. I don't even think of Dharma and Moksha Purushartha. I think of Artha Purushartha, Kama Purushartha, and only interested in the Phala Bhoga of the Artha Kama Purusharthas in this world. And I want to do so many things to assure that when I die and go to the other worlds also, I am assured of phala, karma phala of whatever I have done here, to get a conducive situation in higher lokas after the death of this body. So there is a desire for the pleasure to be experienced here and hereafter. But Vairagya means a dispassion towards all the phalas that are accrued of Artha and Kama Purusharthas here and hereafter. Iha amutra phala bhoga viragaha. A dispassion towards enjoyment of pleasures born of Artha Kama here in this world and also in the later worlds after the death of this body. Then he says, Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. Shamadhi, that means discipline. The disciplining of the mind and the sense organs. It's very important. Samayuktaha, yuktaha were called. Who said? Bhagwan Krishna in Bhagavad Gita all the time. Shamadamadi anvitaha, yuktaha, yuktatma, jitendriyaha. These words we commonly saw, very frequently Bhagwan Krishna uses these words. So what is the meaning of this? Those people who have disciplined their sense organs. It is very necessary. The disciplining of the mind and sense organs is the third qualification. And in this third qualification, there are six sub qualifications: Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, and Samadhana. We have seen all this. We have already seen all this in Bhagavad Gita. We have seen this in Tattva Bodha. And again, if we want to have a revision of this, we have to go back to our Tattva Bodha and read all these things. Therefore, here he says that Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti is the third qualification. It is called as Sampatti, or it is an inner wealth. Discipline itself is the wealth which is described here. Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, the inner wealth of discipline. Disciplining the mind and the sense organs itself is a sampatti, itself is a wealth which is called as an inner wealth. And when I am a samahita chittaha, when I am disciplined with regard to my indriyas and my manaha, then the Atma Vichara, Shastra Vichara can take place in a very clear manner. But if my indriyas are running here and there, if my mind is running here and there, then Shastra Vichara, even to sit for a short time and do the Shastra Vichara, even to sit for 1 hour and listen to the Guru talking about the Shastra, will not be possible. So disciplining the mind and the sense organs is called as Shamadhi Shatka. Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. Six disciplines, which are Shatka means six, a group of six disciplines which are, centered on the mind and the sense organs. And this is the third discipline. We can call it as the discipline, as third qualification. So discrimination or viveka is the first one, then dispassion or vairagya is the second one, then disciplining of the sense organs and mind, discipline is the third one, third sadhana out of the sadhana chatushtaya. Mumukshutvam, mumukshutvam means the desire for freedom. So we can take it as 4 Ds: the discrimination viveka, dispassion vairagya, disciplining the mind and the sense organs, that is called as Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, desire for freedom from bondage, which is called as Mumukshatvam. So Mumukshutvam is the fourth one. So there are 4 important specific sadhanas which are necessary for a person to go into the Shastra Vichara and for this knowledge to take place properly. If this kind of a preparation is not there, then the study of Shastra may not be useful. Nothing is wrong with the Shastra, nothing is wrong with the Guru, but unfortunately, if I am not prepared for this knowledge, then it is difficult to really get the benefit from Shastra and benefit from what the Guru is talking. Now we have to understand that all these 4, that is Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, and Mumukshutvam, they're all related to each other. They're all something which are all together. Mere Viveka alone cannot be there. With Viveka, Vairagya automatically comes. When Viveka comes, it strengthens the Vairagya. When Vairagya becomes more, it strengthens the Viveka. Viveka and Vairagya are like the two sides of a coin. And once I have sufficient amount of Viveka, sufficient of amount of Vairagya, then my search for this knowledge becomes more serious and I develop the discipline properly. And I go into this Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti becomes also very, very natural for me. Just imagine a person is training for a marathon. Okay, he loses interest in everything else. Okay, so he has the discrimination that right now my goal is to win this marathon, so I have to prepare myself for this marathon race. So he is having the discrimination that he should not be doing other things and he should be preparing himself for the marathon. Viveka is there. Then what happens? Automatically, his interest in the other things in the world comes down, because right now his main interest is what? Preparing himself, making himself capable of running the marathon. So automatically the vairagya towards other pursuits of life comes down. And then along with this, the discipline comes. Automatically the discipline comes. How? That mind and the sense organ discipline, that I have to get up at this time in the morning, so many hours I have to run, I have to prepare my body for this particular thing, making my body strong enough. All these things, what is the meaning of this? The discipline automatically comes. I don't have to force my body, I don't have to force my mind, I don't have to force my sense organs not to do other things. A marathon runner who has decided the viveka that this is what I want and I must prepare myself for this running. So what am I doing? I have to start practicing. I have to make myself fit. That viveka comes. Automatically vairagya for the other things come. Discipline automatically comes. Nobody has to wake him up. He wakes up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock and runs his daily running, whatever he has to do, he does that. And mumukshutvam, the desire to win. The desire to win the marathon is there. Therefore, all the four, Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadhi, Shatka Sampatti, Mumukshutvam, in Atmajnana. You can compare this with any other pursuit in life. No pursuit in life is possible without these preparations, actually. Ask a musician, ask a famous dancer, ask a research person, ask a scientist, what have they done? These are the four qualifications for any kind of a mastery over anything. If I want mastery anything, a scientist, to the exclusion of everything, he knows that he has to find this out, viveka. Automatically there is a dispassion towards other things, vairagya. The discipline to go and be maintained and committed to what I want to know, that is maintained, mumukshutvam, the desire to succeed in whatever he's doing. So what is this here for an person who is pursuing atmajnana? Same thing. A person is not pursuing anything outside like a marathon runner or like a scientist, but here this person is pursuing atmajnana. I want to know who I am. I want to know what is the reason for my bondage. Why am I unhappy? Why is it that today I am happy, tomorrow I am unhappy? Why is it that the world is constantly changing and slipping away from me? Is there something which gives me that peace, security, happiness which I am constantly looking for? Is there anything like that in this jagat? My scriptures say, our scriptures say, and our Mahapurushas say, yes, there is something by knowing which you will completely be free from the bondage of this samsara, in spite of your being in samsara. Then what is it? I must know that. And when this desire to know this mukshutvam comes, all the other things also fall in place. Therefore, here, because for explanation's sake, they are mentioned as 1, 2, 3, 4 in a serial manner. See, we cannot explain all the four together. Shastra cannot explain all the four together. Therefore, here, Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, Mumukshutvam iti 1, 2, 3, 4 iti serially it is explained. But we have to understand that all these things are not one after the other. All the four things are happening together simultaneously. Like, if you remember my last session of Bhagavad Gita, I said that it is not a serial thing where I do karma yoga and then wait and then go for upasana yoga and then go for jnana yoga. No, I start all the three. I am simultaneously a karma yogi, an upasana yogi, and a jnana yogi, and giving importance to wherever, whichever is needed, I give importance to that particular thing. And similarly here, one supports the other, one strengthens the other, and therefore all the four are things which are happening together. Sometimes I might feel that I'm lacking in vairagya. I have a discrimination, proper discrimination is there, but I'm not very much, I'm lacking a little in vairagya. I have to work on it there at that time. I have got viveka vairagya, but somehow discipline is not there. I am not really able to sit constantly for a sufficient period of time and engage myself in the Shastra Vichara. My mind is flying here and there. My Indriyas are constantly looking for something. I have to give attention to my discipline, to my inner discipline. There I have to now give more attention. Mumukshatvam, without mumukshatvam, I will not even come for this. That is different. So, mumukshatvam, here Bhagwan Shankaracharya says, mumukshatvam is the first qualification actually. Unless I have the ichha for moksha, why will I come to Shastra at all? Because I remember somebody telling me, I asked, somebody was saying, I don't need any philosophy now. I'm very happy in life. Somebody told me. That means, do you have to wait for you to become unhappy in life and then come to these things? It happens. Vairagya comes, smashana vairagya. At that particular time, people are willing to really get into Vedanta, get into worship, everything. That is very short lived. That is not the thing. Once I have the mumukshutvam, the other three also automatically will follow. There may be a little less of one thing, more of one thing, but I have to learn to balance all the four and take all the four of them together. And now Vivek Chudamani describes now one after another as to what are all these disciplines. Viveka, Vairagya, Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhana, and then our Mumukshutvam. All of them, the 9 disciplines are going to be explained, that we are going to get into now. What Bhagwan Shankaracharya says, what Shankaracharya Bhagwan says is exactly what the Shastras also say. Now we'll go to the 20th verse, verse number 20. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya इत्येवं रूपो विनिश्चयः सोऽयं नित्यानित्यवस्तु विवेकः समुदाहृतः. So what is this viveka? What is this discrimination? What is nitya anitya vastu viveka? That is explained here. What is it? Brahma satyam jagan mithyetyevam. Brahman, or that Atma, is the only Satyam. That is the only constant. That is the only Paramarthika Satyam. Tad Anyat Sarvam Mithya. This is what the definition given in Tattva Bodha also. Brahma Satyam Tad Vyatiriktam Anyam Sarvam Mithya Iti Jnanam. This understanding that there is only one thing that is constant, that is permanent, that is eternal, nityam, that which is not affected by time, that which is not limited by time, that which is not limited by space, that limit which is not limited by anything else. See, supposing we see anything in life here, we find that everything is limited by space, by time, and by any other object. Space, I'm here, I can't be there. I'm here, I can't be in some other place. So I'm restricted and limited as far as space is concerned. So everything is limited by space, limited by time. This body was not there before it was born. It won't be there after it dies. In between, it is there. We also see that yesterday there was something, today it is not there. That is why, Bhagwan Krishna compared this samsara to Ashwatta Vrikshaha. Shvaha na syasyati iti ashvatah. The one which is not destined to be there tomorrow, we don't know. This Kshara Purusha, this Prapancha, which he called as Kshara Purusha in the 15th chapter, he said that this world was there yesterday, today it is different, tomorrow it is different, it is not there. If you come, after 10 years to some place, you will find you cannot recognize it. It has changed so much. So every day it is changing. It is kshara. It goes on changing every day. So there is a limitation, time wise limitation. Every day this body is aging. This body is not what it was yesterday. Tomorrow it will be not what it is today. So everything is in the grip of time, in the grip of place, and I'm limited by other objects also. The other jivas are limiting me, the other vastus are limiting me. So I am parichinnaha, desha kala vastu parichinnaha, this body mind. Similarly, everything in this jagat is limited by time, place, and other objects. But then our shastras say there is one thing which is limitless, which is nityam, which is not affected or limited parichinna by space or time or by any other object. That is ekam advitiyam brahma. Okay, ekam advitiyam brahma. One without a second, without anything else. This is called as ekam advitiyam brahma. And what is that brahma? What is that brahman? That is the swarupam of this jiva, jagat and ishvara. Yes, right now I have still not gone to the shastra, so I do not know what this brahman is. But now I know this viveka, that I have heard. I have heard through the gurus. I have heard through shastra. I am born in a culture where this knowledge is frequently talked about, and I have heard that there is something which is not affected or limited by time, by space, or by any other object, and that is something which is constant, holding on to which, knowing which is going to free me from my bondage, my samsara. Iti I have heard. This is what I know, but what that Brahman is right now, I do not know. But I want to know that Brahman. I want to know that constant which is not going to change. The variable is going to change like an equation. The variables keep changing, but the constant does not change. Similarly, here also, in this world, everything may change, but there is one constant thing which is called as Nityam, which is called as Brahman. That is the only Satyam. Right now, I don't know what it is, but I have got the Shraddha in Shastra and in the Guru that there is something called as Brahman, which is eternal, which is Nityam. So, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya Ityevam Rupo Vinishchayaha. So, I have understood that. I may not know at present what this Brahman is. Right now, I am only developing the qualifications, the adhikaritvam for this knowledge. I have to go a long way. I have to go to a guru. I have to study the Shastra. And then, over a period of time, by Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, I am going to know or understand what this Brahman is. But right now, I have to have the discrimination to understand that what I want is that Brahman. My goal is not this Anitya Samsara, but the goal of this human life is to understand that Brahman. Iti Vinishchayaha. This Nishchaya is called as Nitya Anitya Vastu Vivekaha. This is what is Samudahritaha. Means this is what is talked about in all the Shastras about what the Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka is. Now let us go to what is Vairagya. The 21st verse talks about what is Vairagya. He says, Tadvairagyam jihasaya darshana shravanadibhihi dehadi brahma pariyante hyanitye bhogavastuni. So, Vairagya or Viragaha, we saw that Iha Amutra Phala Bhoga Viragaha, that is dispassion or disinterest in enjoying the phalam, temporary phalam of the Arthakama Purushartha in this world and also in the world to come. Now let us try to see what this dispassion is. Now, dispassion is given many words. Detachment is one. What is this detachment, attachment? It is different words. Dispassion. Okay, let us make it very simple to understand what is dispassion. Now, to understand that everything in life is losable. Everything. Everything in life, starting from my own body, mind, sense complex to people around me, there are only three things with which I am interacting in life. With this body, mind, sense complex, there are other body, mind, sense complexes, other jivas, other people of the world whom I call mine, or whom I say they belong to me, or I belong to them. Then objects of the world, certain objects of the world towards which I have a deep interest, my house, my book, my laptop, my this, my that. So that kind of one sector of the world, some people, my people, some things, some objects in this jagat, my objects, which mine, everything mine. So I have a deep attachment towards certain people, certain objects of the world, and also situations of the world. Situations. That means a certain conducive situation. I don't want the situation to be unpleasant for me. I want the situations to be pleasant for me. I want all those people who are with me to be with me all the time. Whatever I want should be always with me. I should not lose anything. The situation should be conducive. People should be around me. All the objects that I want should be with me. I should not lose any object. But then that is not the case. Whether it is people, whether it is situations, whether it is objects of the world, everything is constantly lost. I am losing everything, including my body. It is something which is going to be wasted and lost. And what is the meaning of Vairagya? Meaning of Vairagya is preparedness to lose the losable. That's it. Our Shastras don't say, don't enjoy what God has given you. Ishvara has given me certain things. Blessings of Ishvara, I have certain things. Doesn't matter, let me enjoy them. Our Shastra does not say, don't enjoy whatever is given. Good meal is given to you. Your prarabdha is good prarabdha. You have got a good family. You have got a good house. You have got, lot of bhoga. Good, doesn't matter. It is Ishvara's blessing. Let me enjoy it. There is no harm in enjoying it. But let me enjoy it with the understanding that this is given by Ishvara. Everything is given by Ishvara. It can be lost anytime. Ishvara can take away whatever is given to me as a blessing. It is something which is given, which can be taken away. And anything that is with me can be lost at any time. So, the capacity, the preparedness to be prepared to lose the losable, I don't mind. Yes, all these things are there with me. But then these are losable. Any time this can be lost, I'm willing to lose them. The capacity to lose the losable. This is what is called as Vairagya. And then another way Vairagya can be explained. What is it? Another way is giving the right value to the things. Everything has a value. It doesn't mean that the things in the world don't have a value. Money has value. What is the value? It can give me comfort. It has the buying power, but it cannot give me security. No amount of money can give me security. Why it cannot give me security? We have seen 4G scam, 5G scam, 3G scam, this scam, that scam, thousands of crores. Still then you are not satisfied. You want more, you want more, you want more, because that insecurity is all the time there. So money may give me comforts, money may give me the buying capacity, money may give me a capacity to enjoy life in a better way, but it can never give me security. Family, yes, I should be grateful if I have a very very loving and a good family, but that is not everything. That may be there. Yes, I enjoy that. At present, it is God's gift that I have got good family. Enjoy it. But then it is possible that that may be lost. And then I cannot give a value to the family because of them I am happy. No. Because of money I am happy. Because of my position I am happy. Because of my possessions I am happy. Because of my family I am happy. I cannot say that. My happiness, my security, and my peace may be temporarily dependent upon these things, but they cannot be depended upon permanently, because I must give them the right value. When I overvalue something, then I'm in for a rude shock. I overvalue my children. Even when they're 45-year-old, 50-year-old, I feel without me they cannot survive. Oh, what will they do without me? Now, this is overvaluing a relationship, overvaluing the children, overvaluing the family, overvaluing money. Without money, I'm nothing. Yeah, I may have difficulties. Yes, that is there. But then to say that, to give an importance or value, overvaluing something, is also going to make me caught in that. So giving the right value to the right thing is also Vairagya. So in two ways we can explain that: to see that everything is constantly changing, and therefore I should be prepared for a change. Nothing is going to remain the change. Things are going to be lost. I'm willing to lose this body whenever the time comes. I'm willing to go through any prarabdha. Situations are choiceless many times. Doesn't mean that we should not improve the situations. Yes, God has given us the free will. We have the capacity to do what is necessary to change the circumstances. But then there are times when we cannot change the circumstances. And at that time, I have to be capable of preparing myself. Yes, this was there with me all this time. It is no longer there with me. I'm ready to give it up. I'm ready to lose it. Anyway, it doesn't belong to me. Whatever was with me, whatever is with me, is the grace of Ishvara. With the blessings of Ishvara, thank you for allowing me to enjoy this family, enjoy this house, enjoy these people, enjoy these surroundings and situation all these years. But now that you have decided to take it away, I am happy with that also. Thank you. That is it. If this is my attitude, then I have Vairagya. Then I don't run after things. When I don't run after things, when I have dispassion for whatever is, then my time is available, my mind is available for Shastra Vichara. So he says here, Tad Vairagyam Jihasa. Jihasa means what? The desire to give up something is called as Jihasa. Now, what happens here? Constantly we are seeing that things are changing. Darshana Shvanadibihi. Constantly we are seeing that nothing is permanent. That itself should give us the Vairagya. We get smashana vairagya sometimes when there is, somebody dies, we get the nothing is worth it. It is not worth it. I must now go to Shastra Vichara. I have had this experience many times. People coming in, somebody is not well in the house, the person tells, now I realize nothing is permanent, everything is so ephemeral. I want to start, give me your link, I want to join your classes, three classes, 2 3 sessions, that's it. And when that illness is gone, the person is back again and not bothered about. So what, it is not a smashana vairagya, it is not a smoky vairagya, it is not a temporary vairagya. It is a vairagya born out of understanding. And not only by seeing the world around us, he says that vairagya is something which we have heard also in Puranas, in Itihasa, in Ramayana, Mahabharata. What we have heard, Rama, who was supposed to be the king next day, Yuvaraja, Pattabhisheka, and just before the Pattabhisheka, he has to lose everything and go away. With what attitude does Rama go away? Not complaining about anything, smiling, he accepts that yes, that is the prarabdha, and he goes away. So what is said here is that by listening to the shastras, by listening to the purana shravanadhibihi, by listening to the itihasa, by listening to the puranas, there also I see that great people, great kings, great personalities have also had to lose things. Things have not been easy for them. Take the story of Nala, take the story of Harishchandra, take the story of Rama, Krishna, anybody for that matter. In all these things, what do we learn? That even they had to lose so many things. So, what about us, common, ordinary people? Darshana, every day we are seeing people losing things. Whatever they had, we are losing. Recently, we are seeing in this war, people who are staying happily in their homes, next day they don't have a home, they're running away. So what is this capacity to prepare myself to accept the loss of anything, the preparedness to lose, and there for what kind of things, the capacity or preparedness to lose the losable. What losable? He says dehadi brahma paryante hi anitye bhogavasuni. Starting from this body, dehadi, till the brahmaloka, brahma paryante, he says. We have seen what is brahmaloka, what are those lokas, we have already seen in Bhagavad Gita. So starting from this body onwards, up till the brahmaloka, whatever bhoga, whatever karma phala I am likely to enjoy in this life, I have to understand that I can lose it at any time. And the willingness and the preparedness to lose the losable, by my experience in this world, personal experience in the world, seeing other people, seeing myself also lose things, as I have, in the last, from the beginning, I have seen myself losing. We have all lost so many things. We have seen that. We are seeing it every day, people losing anything and everything. And then from Shastra also. So he says, Vairagyam Jihasa. Jihasa means the need to give up the attachment, or the need to give up a kind of a holding on to things, jihasa. the need to give up. Hatum ichha is called as jihasa, the desire to give up. Desire to give up what? The desire to give up undue attachment, undue entanglement with anything in this world, starting from my body up to the highest loka, the need to enjoy the karma phala of my artha kama purusharthas, even dharma purushartha, here in this world and everywhere else. The capacity to understand that all of them is anitya and to lose it, the capacity to be prepared for losing it. This is what is called as the Vairagyam. That is what Vairagyam was talked about in the 21st verse. Now, here in the 22nd verse, what does he say here? Virajya Vishaya Vratat Dosha Drishtya Muhurmuhu Swalakshe Niyatavastha Manasa Shama Uchate. So he comes to the third qualification now, which is called as Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti means sixfold disciplines with regard to the mind and the sense organs. So, what are the sixfold disciplines regarding the mind? Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, and Samadhana. Now, what is the meaning of Shama, Dama? All are going to be explained in one verse each. He says here, Virajya Vishaya Vratat. When I get sufficient discrimination and dispassion. Now, you see, when I have explained what dispassion is, how the discrimination, Viveka, sorry, and Vairagya are how related to each other. Correct? Without Viveka, Vairagya cannot be there. Without Vairagya, Viveka is of no use. So Viveka and Vairagya are only strengthening each other. The more and more Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka I have, the more and more Vairagya I have. The more and more Vairagya I develop, the more and more discriminative I am about what is Nitya and what is Anitya. And with this, the disciplining of the mind and the sense organs also starts coming in. So what is now Shama here? Disciplining the mind is called as Shama. Mind discipline. Virajya Vishaya Vratad Dosha Drishtya Muhur Muhuho Swalakshye Niyatavastha Manasa Shama Uchyate. This is the 22nd verse. What it means is, the mind is not allowed to unnecessarily dwell on things and objects which is not necessary, because the mind has this kind of a weakness of running here and there. The capacity of me, I, the buddhi, keeps the mind where it belongs. It withdraws the mind and tries to keep it from running after the material objects and the situations of the world. This kind of disciplining the mind, mano nigraha. Here it does not mean that you are going to subjugate the mind. No, there's no question of controlling the mind. The controlled mind becomes more rebellious. So here Shama means intelligently managing the mind, the energies of the mind. The mind is highly energetic. It is chanchalam hi mana krishnaha pramathi balavat dridaha. What did Arjuna say? This mind is chanchala and it is pramathi balavat drida, and it is really turbulent. It is pulling me away. I am not able to really concentrate on anything. So this manonigraha, or disciplining the energies of the mind in such a way that the mind does not dwell on things which are not necessary. Initially, at this time, I am sitting for meditation, or I am sitting for listening to Vedanta. This 1 hour, my mind is going to be focused on what I am doing. I am not going to let the mind go here and there. I am not going to let the mind lose its control and travel here and there. I am going to discipline the mind. And this kind of a disciplining the mind, lovingly channelizing the energies of the mind to focus on whatever I am doing at that moment, to prevent the mind's energies from flittering away here and there. This particular discipline of the mind is called as Shama. Shama means disciplining of the mind. So he says, Virajya Vishaya Vratat. having withdrawn from all the groups of Vishaya. Vrata means groups. Vishaya Vrata Dvirajya. Having developed sufficient amount of Vairagya, after discrimination, what should I do? Seeing the doshas, dosha drishtya muhur muhuhu, seeing the doshas in the external world of objects and situations of people, swalakshye niyatavastha. That means what? I bring the mind to focus on whatever is my task now. What is my task now? Concentrating on Atmajnana. Shastra Vichara now is my task. So I discipline the mind to focus on Shastra Vichara and prevent the mind from going here and there and going after other things. So, after sufficient Vairagya, when I have got enough Vairagya, I have to work on disciplining the mind, and this Niyata Avastha Manasaha Shama Uchyate. This Niyata Avastha, keeping the mind disciplined in a disciplined avastha, is called as Shama. This is the first subsidiary discipline of the third, that is Shamadhi Shatka Sampati. In that, there are 6 divisions. Out of that, the Shama is the first division. We'll see the others in the next session. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.